This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it is now 2 o'clock, and I am going to call the June 15th, 2021 meeting of the Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee to order. Do the roll call here. We have Teresa Phillips.
Here.
Doug Santer.
Here.
Len Sikorsky.
Here.
Joe Schofield.
Here.
And Phil Measy. So we have 5 members and a quorum. And I'd like to greet Randy Bottleson, who will soon hopefully be joining us. And we'll get to that in a few minutes, Randy, as far as the agenda is concerned. We have a quorum, as I said, so we can make decisions. Financial report, Glenn?
Well, are we going to do the budget as part of this, or you want to wait a little bit?
I was going to wait a little bit on the budget.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be able to clear some of these folks out who are.
Yep.
Who are giving reports.
Well, before I do that, I'd like to address, I gave you a spreadsheet of my analysis of the sales tax that we're paying to Florida Power and Light
Mhm.
and to Securitas. And I noticed that Scott was good enough to print out the invoices for me of the billings by Florida Power. And you can see from my spreadsheet, here's one here. Here it is. That sometimes they're charging us, remember, Florida sales tax is 6.5%. Forget about the other taxes on there, because tax is tax. But I went through, and based on my analysis of that period of February to March, we pay about $2,400 in sales tax, which if we move those invoices and the contract with Securitas to Gateway CDD, we would save about 30 grand, 29,000. So I think it is worthwhile. I'm working with Laura and Julia to notify Florida Power and Light. And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have a contract with Securitas, which is with the Pelican Preserve Community Association.
Mhm.
It's not with us.
Right.
It's not with Gateway. So we'd have to move that from PPCA to Gateway.
Mhm.
And then we could get that savings of about $2,400 a month, or sorry, $1,985 a month
Mhm.
from Securitas. Now, Scott and I mentioned, do we then look at our security contract to maybe get other bids,
Mhm.
right? Maybe that's not an appropriate time right now, but we have to work with maybe just getting Gateway to get that contract moved over to a Gateway. He's going to come up because he deals with Securitas.
Scott Charnock, property manager at Pelican Preserve. I did check with the district, and for us to move the contract over to Gateway, we would have to put it out to a formal bid.
Okay,
So we're in the process of drawing up the paperwork right now.
good.
Once that's finalized, it'll go to Tony for his final review, and then we'll be able to put it out to a public offering.
Okay.
Scott, I guess it would be, I don't know whether is there any internal reason that we have to get special permission from the board or something of that sort in order to make this move?
No,
Okay, we can just do it.
not according to Chris and Gateway. No.
Okay.
All we have to do is we have to put it out to bid
Mhm.
because that's what the district would require.
Mhm. Okay.
Now on the Florida Power side, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
All we got to do is give it to Julie here.
Yeah.
She'll notify by account number. I'm giving her a summary. She'll notify them and they'll switch those billings over to Gateway. Okay?
Okay.
So that'll get us that exemption of right now, maybe the savings isn't as large as what Securitas. However, one of the PPCA board members sent us an email and he quoted, would this apply to existing contracts or just new ones? Well, I think with Securitas, we could change that.
Right.
Secondly, would it apply only to contracts above a certain amount? I don't know what he means by that. To me, it's not relevant. is a bidding requirement required? Well, we've learned that it is for that Securitas, but not Florida Power. What would be the estimated savings? I'm saying 30,000
a year.
a year,
Mhm.
okay?
Okay.
So we got to be careful in the future when PPCA does a contract.
Mhm.
We should really look at who should be paying that expense.
Mhm.
And remember, once we move these bills over, Gateway's going to be paying them.
Mhm.
So we're going to change our amount through the retainer replenishment fund every month.
Mhm.
But that's just moving numbers.
Yes, right.
It's to me not a big deal.
Mhm.
All right?
So this was, go ahead, Dick, I'm
No,
sorry.
you were already talking.
Was this from Philip? This,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
okay.
Because Philip likes to throw it out there. I
Yeah.
call
Uh-huh.
it. You know, he's a fellow CPA like me. And
Yeah.
we throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, okay.
All right?
Well, I think, you can answer that that's the direction we're headed.
Oh, I'm going to, but I wanted to mention it here first,
Sure. Oh,
as the
okay.
email came in last week first.
Who's paying the bill right now? We are, aren't we?
We are,
See, we have been paying the bill,
yes,
but the contracts with the community association,
that's what I saw. on the
Well,
contract.
Wow, so then the budget doesn't have to change because we're already paying it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think what's happened here, Joe, is that we pay it under even though it's with the PPCA, we pay it under the terms of the O and M agreement.
That's right.
yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I was just wondering where the money is
Yeah.
or going.
Right, from a budget standpoint.
It's still funded the same way through tax dollars.
Yeah.
The only difference is what pocket you're paying it out of.
Mhm.
And to get the sales tax benefit, it has to be directly paid by the district. If it goes through the O and M account, then we don't get that benefit.
We can't exempt.
No, we cannot.
But right now, to Joe's question, we are paying it, even though it's a PPCA
Yeah.
contract.
Yes,
We are
Yeah.
paying it
That's what I thought. We,
based on the O and M agreement.
yes.
And you'll see that in a lot of the service contracts or the service agreements or just invoicing through the O and M agreement. You know, the PPCA is paying these bills on behalf of the GSCDD,
Mhm.
but the invoices will at times come with Pelican Preserve Community Association. But it's actually paid through the GSCDD bank account that we actually utilize in our invoice pay.
So are there other opportunities here?
Well, I think gives us, I will take the time to see if there is.
If
I
there
don't
any of them
know.
big enough to make it worth?
One, worthwhile, and two, is there a sales tax payment? Like Ameriscape,
Oh,
they don't charge us sales tax
Wow.
because there's a labor and material provision. And the tax law states that they're not required because they pay the sales tax when they buy those materials
Mhm.
and they pass it through to us. So whether we're paying it or Gateway's paying it, I don't think there's a difference. So I think the three big ones, right?
Yeah, the big ones then are Ameriscape, Securitas,
Florida Power.
Florida Power. I mean,
Yeah.
that probably covers
That is
a
correct.
lion's share of our.
Yeah, and then we'll watch future, but the big one for Florida Power is the streetlights,
Oh, yeah, right.
right?
Mhm.
And so I'll work on getting that through.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
These
Go ahead.
addresses that no sales tax was charged, is it the same way for them? They're paying for labor and materials?
No, I think Florida Power just is been notified not to charge. Because remember, Bob Gephardt went through
Mhm.
different invoices and they were sent to by account number to Florida Power. So they've stopped the sales tax on those. So I don't think we caught them all.
Okay.
But for $1 here, 80 cents here,
Not more.
we'll get it done now,
Yeah,
but just to clean it up.
Yeah.
That's why they're not
But
charged.
there isn't
Good question.
a bigger problem though, because it's a small number. That Cerritos is the big one.
Well, sure, yes, of course, in the streetlights.
Yep.
Secondly and lastly, the April financials were provided to you. And we're pretty well on track with that. And, the big discussion, as Bill says today is the budget. It's a great time of year when you do budgets. So, but when you look at what was sent in your package for April of the income statement, that we're year to date on a 1.4 budget, we've spent 828,000. Coming up to our September year end. So,
But as you look at what's to come, as we go through the year, we should be pretty well on.
yeah, I think we are. I think we're pretty dead on.
Glenn, I was just looking at your sheet again here, and I don't see any of the new communities listed, like Prado or Carina or Matarita.
Well,
Which sheet is this?
this
Oh, this
is
is the spreadsheet
Oh,
here.
just the spreadsheet. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
there is one, the last one, Prado, at the very bottom of Florida
Oh,
Power,
there is Prado. You're right.
right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Scott, can you address that?
Just so you know, not all the communities are listed as names. They're listed, those are meters listed as location.
Okay.
Okay.
There's
Where the
streets.
meter
Yes.
is.
There's
Where
street-
where the
there's
meter
streets.
is, yes.
Yeah.
Not what it services.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That explains that one.
You know, I sound foolish being 18 years at Pelican. Where's Sun City Boulevard? Where's that boulevard?
Well, I think they probably refer to it as Sunset City Boulevard. It is what is now
It is now-
Pelican Preserve.
Yes,
Pelican
it's
Preserve
Pelican
Boulevard.
Preserve Boulevard.
Yeah.
They,
They haven't changed.
They
Yeah.
haven't changed.
that was the original name.
That was
Yeah, right.
When we
Okay.
were still Sun City.
So that's the gist of it for financial.
Okay, good. Sounds good. Okay, I think I had mentioned in our last meeting that we've started to get a lot of complaints about the condition of our roads. And feeling was that we needed to survey the roads and see what work needed to be done on them. Some of them are starting to fall apart, not surprisingly, after 20 years. So what I'd like to do is ask Brian Bashir. Brian, are you gonna make the presentation or?
Well, what I'm gonna do is introduce you to Stan Buckwich. Stan's
Okay.
with Atlantic. We use him over here in Gateway Services. Matter of fact, pretty much all my sidewalks and roads out of here, we kind of use him. He was with Vanessa, he went to Atlantic Southern, which is bigger now, so our prices are actually getting cheaper, which is good. But Stan and I ran Pelican Reserve 3 weeks ago. Yeah. It's about 3 weeks ago, we went, checked your roads out and over there. Your newer roads, of course, like Prado and stuff, it's not done. It's not part of it because we just give you examples. This is what he printed out. He sends to me. If you want, I can send you, whoever wants to email, I can send you all the roads that have been done so far with estimates on those. And as you can tell, it's in great detail. I give you a couple different options. You can mill and repave it, or you can seal it. What I'm gonna do is let Stan come up here and he can go over that and he can tell you what he prioritized. I'm not the expert, so I bring the experts in. But I'll have Stan come up and Stan can kind of go over it with you. You got any questions? Stan is the man.
Okay,
Usual,
I know you're all done.
and Stan, if you just introduce yourself, just so we have it on the record.
Thing. I'm Stan Buckowicz with Atlantic Southern Paving and Seal Coating.
Thank you.
So I put together this maintenance plan kind of thing for you guys. Based on what I'm seeing, this is kind of the older section of Pelican Preserve over here. Like you said, the roads are about 20 years old. What I would do if I had the decision, I would start by replacing Aviano Drive. That's probably in my position, the one that's failing the most. And then I would start working my way out of the community. You can see the list here, 1A being seal coating the Toscana section of Ravenna. So that back section is in pretty good shape. I don't know if you guys have looked through the first 3 proposals that you guys have. So then I would seal coat that in the hopes that it would last another 5 to 10 years. Maybe we seal coat it 2 more times. So that when the final paving is done on number 5 on Ravenna, then we come back and repave that. That'd be the last section that we do. Again, just kind of working our way out, not driving on fresh asphalt. It would depend on how long that lasts, that back section there for Toscana. Other than that, like Brian said, it's just kind of pretty straightforward. We went through and we said, okay, this is the cost to replace this pavement. This is the cost to seal coat it. As far as repairing and seal coating goes, I don't think that there's a lot of value in that on a 20-year-old roadway that has a lot of crack and stress to it. So we didn't propose that option, but if you have any questions, feel free to contact me on the proposal. My contact information is on there, email, cell phone, whatever.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it was a PPAC meeting, more likely a CDD meeting, and several years ago, so I don't think anybody here was at that meeting. But there was a lot of discussion about roads and seal coating or coating. Being from the north, I know I used to go buy a bucket and do it. And there seemed to be a lot of questions. I always thought that was a really great thing. It was pointed out that up there, up north, it was. Down here, it really wasn't very beneficial. And I don't remember the minute details of it, but they were claiming that the weather conditions here, seal coating wasn't really going to benefit a whole lot. Can you explain a little bit why you would recommend that then?
Without getting too far into it in the science or whatever behind it, we recommend seal coating insofar as you oil change on your car. The longer that you go, the seal coating helps that regular maintenance. It helps your pavement last longer over time. And then when it comes time to replace that pavement, since it's been maintained and it's in pretty good shape, the hope is that you can just replace the top layer and there's no base repair. So your overall replacement cost, because you've maintained it, is cheaper. That's one of the benefits of seal coating. The other one is it is an aesthetic. You do keep that black, fresh look on the asphalt. So for nicer communities like Pelican, I'm sure that's important. Like it's really just a maintenance thing. It's keeping those oil spills, UV rays, oxidation, etc., away from that asphalt so that you can keep it in good condition so that when it comes time to replace it, your replacement cost is cheaper. That's the goal for seal coating.
Well, that's pretty much what I always thought, and I was somewhat surprised when they were saying, well, it's just a coating and makes it look good.
No,
I always
it's
thought
part
there
of
was
it,
a
sure.
benefit to it.
Definitely a benefit, and that's to beef up your pavement, your resistance to spills, water, oils, UV, that kind of thing.
So that would forestall repaving for maybe another 10 years.
It could, and we have some other options available to us. We have a product called Liquid Road. So it runs about 75 cents a square foot, give or take, and it is seal coat on steroids. You can actually put it over a 20-year-old road, maintain it again like seal coat. So you can put it on and then seal coat it. So it's a 7 to 10 year solution.
So how does 75 cents a square foot doesn't mean anything to me? How does that compare with seal coat?
Sure thing. Basic seal coat's gonna run about 10 cents a square foot, maybe a little bit less than that, up to, once you start getting into the higher quality seal coats and higher quality applications, 17, 18, 19 cents a square foot.
In a number of communities, mine happens to be one of them, have actually done our own seal coating
Oh, okay.
a couple of times, just to keep the roads up. And I'm quite sure there are others. I don't know whether you ran into them as you did your survey.
Definitely.
So that there are, as I say, there are communities, mine being one of them, where we've actually done it ourselves a couple of times.
Good.
You know, you're right, Phil, because we have told other communities in the past to coat, that's their responsibility to coat their road.
Well, what we've said is until we discover that it really needs some kind of work, and until the CDD came in and said, look, you know, their engineers looked at it and said it needs work. If you want it to look nicer, you're going to have to do it yourself. So we're
doing it for more than that.
Yeah, where there was minimal, you know, where it was more an aesthetic thing, and the damage to the road was actually fairly minimal. That's what we said. If you want it to look nice, and you know, we're not about to do it. It's just the road's in too good shape, and it's not ready to be done. So I think that's usually been what we've told.
Because I know Bellagio, I've seen that, they have done that, and I think Portofino might have too.
Right, exactly, and I think that Monticello.
Yeah.
Sevilla did it. We did it.
Sevilla,
Verona.
You did it? Yeah.
I wouldn't want those people coming back and saying, now you're doing it for free and we paid for it. So
Well,
you're,
Yeah.
can I ask you,
Of course.
Stan, Verona is one of our older neighborhoods.
Mhm.
but we're a cul-de-sac, so we don't get the traffic flow with the 23 buildings. I don't see it in here, not even seal coating.
Okay,
So you're probably, and that's in the old section too.
which one, I'm not familiar with which one Verona is, just because I concentrated on this.
Well,
section
There
here.
was Sevilla,
Okay,
and then
Carmella.
we have a monument called Verona, right as you go into Sevilla.
Okay,
So you obviously don't think it needs to be done. Seal coating or paving.
Yeah.
Right?
correct. Now, since it hasn't been seal coated and it is about 20 years old, it's kind of a judgment call. That's
Well,
why-
no, we did seal coat about 8 years ago,
Okay,
okay?
all right,
But it's getting a little worn.
okay.
We,
So maybe we revisit that one.
because your map only covers a relatively small section, it doesn't get to the map I'm looking at.
Well,
It doesn't have,
Here's what we did, to let you know.
okay,
He's still reevaluating all the rest of the roads.
Okay,
okay.
What we did is just give you a small portion.
Okay.
This is for your budgets.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do is get you folks the same thinking that I am over here.
Mm.
Start putting money ahead for roads, where I don't care if it's 50, 100,000, whatever the case may be.
Oh, okay.
When you're figuring your budgets for next year, which we already are now,
Mhm.
you know some of these roads need to be done. We went and tackled this area. We wrote all of it. He still get proposals together. Your Pelican Reserve Boulevards will be expensive. We all know that. That, he's still finishing that one. What I'm doing is I get them all, I'm gonna send them all to Scott. I'm trying to get you folks, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm doing my area. My people over here at the board's like, hey, you need to start thinking about money for roads, because they don't put money over here for it either. And our roads are all 20 to 25 years old.
Oh,
Some of them
except-
older.
Except we had a capital study done about 4 years ago and one earlier than that. And we have a substantial capital reserve. I would assume that covers the roads.
Well, it might, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't,
we got 3.2 million in that
well, you
reserve.
got probably cover all of it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we want to do it all, but
Yeah.
But what I'm doing, this was just a presentation. This is what
Right.
we've done.
Mhm.
And me and Stan did ride all the roads. Now, I didn't do Prado and all that because it doesn't have a final lift and none of that. So we didn't get that far over
I
on the
understand.
farther side.
Okay.
But your older sections, when he finishes a quote, we'll send them all to Scott. And he can share whatever you guys want. So you'll have all these. I'm just trying to get you all aware of the fact. You might want to say, even if you got the reserve money, say, okay, maybe we want to spend money to do the
Yeah.
following roads.
Right.
So at least
Exactly.
you'll know.
This is not a priority. This is a priority of the ones you looked at.
Correct.
Because like Avila is an older one
Correct.
community that's not in here.
What we're gonna do is,
Avila's pretty bad too.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
so you're going to be giving us a report that'll include some of those other areas?
it'll have all of them, but such short notice, he had other stuff to
Right,
do.
understood.
We try to.
Understood. We're
You're
not,
talking a lot of
we're not
roads.
after you. Yeah, we
So-
don't understand. Yeah.
now on these quotes here, you're talking 59,698 for paving and 4743 for seal coating. Okay, so
That gives you two different options. Of course, remilling and repaving is always gonna be more expensive,
yeah, it's like
but,
10% of paving.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
this
Again,
one,
maintenance.
Of course.
so we just try to do this to present, so that way you'll have at least some idea. I mean, he is gonna finish them, it might take another month or two, I don't know, when I get them, I'm gonna send them all. Send them to Scott and say, here you go, because he's busy, he also got tons of stuff to do, we just, you know how it is, but this will at least give you an idea.
Well, also, it's good that as an association, we can inform our association, say, wait a minute. Hang in here, because you might be qualified for seal coating or paving,
There you go. Yep.
right? So don't go and make it look pretty, and then 6 months later, we're gonna do the real job.
I'll try to pinpoint him down the next 60 days and have you all,
Okay,
I'm gonna
Yeah.
try. It's hard to tackle. But this is just,
And so we can do that for every road. We can say, here's the seal coat cost, here's the paving.
I was just
cost.
going to say, yeah, kind of run run it by me again. If we have road A and it needs work, if we seal coat it, it'll extend the life by 5 years, maybe.
Depends on the product and application that we
Yeah.
choose. We can go anywhere from like a 3-year solution all the way up to a 7.
7-year solution. Whereas actually milling and doing all of that will,
16 to 25 years.
Ooh.
But you still have to seal coat it after that, correct?
You should, yes, you should.
I mean, it's not you do that and then that's it for 17 years.
Exactly, exactly. I mean,
That's why some of your roads are in shape.
Right.
no seal coat,
Right.
16 years.
Yeah.
Seal coat, 25 plus, maybe 30 years.
okay.
I
And
think,
again, that replacement cost is gonna be less when it comes time to replace it because the road's in better shape. Easier to replace.
I'm thinking I'm moving to a newer community. We're getting old, Phil.
We are, Glenn. We got there.
Well, no,
We're already there.
it's so nice to have new,
Sure.
and now here is 18 years later.
Yep.
It's
Right?
time.
Yep.
It's time.
Yep. Well, my suggestion here is that what we do is we ask Brian and Stan to keep looking at, to fill out the whole picture.
Mhm.
Sure thing.
And then, and all of us perhaps get copies of this stuff so that we can look it over.
You can
And in
keep-
a future meeting, we'll be able to
you
really
want
start
me
to think about how we get this done or what we need to do and how we get it done.
We can reconvene maybe in 90 days. and
Yes,
In the
yeah.
meantime, then we'll get it all done. Then we'll come and
That'd
you can
be good.
prioritize everything over.
Right, right.
Then you'll
And-
have a list.
I think so. And as you just said, we need it in priority order. That's the stuff that really, you
Sure.
really see as needing doing and the stuff that's not quite as high a priority.
And one other thing, your conservation area maintenance contracts pre-bid this Friday, 2:00. And we're finishing working with Scott on the security contract. I get L on that one.
Okay.
So once the documents are done, it goes to Tony, but the pre-bid is for this Friday.
Good.
For your other contract.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions of these gentlemen? If not, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we would, when you're ready to check back into us for the full report.
Well, I'll get with him, like I said, give us about 90 days. We can
Okay,
reconvene with a list of all of them.
sounds
At
good.
least you'll have an understanding that's the proposal types we get.
Mhm.
It's very detailed, very detailed.
Will your company take Bitcoin?
Great question. You know what, the rates on Sunrise, so maybe. 'cause Miami's like the most Bitcoin friendly.
He said that NFL player took his contract in Bitcoin.
Not a bad move, right?
Yeah, it's City Chiefs. He's taking it in Bitcoin.
Smart man.
It all depends on when you did it, right?
Right.
That ransom.
I haven't looked today, I don't know where it's at.
Ransom,
Around
but it's
38,000.
Years ago.
That's not for you.
When it was
You
5
just said now
cents.
it's what, 100
5
this year,
cents.
over 100 this year?
What? No.
We don't have Bitcoin.
That's a little dicey for us.
It is. It's hard to comprehend.
Okay,
Well, we appreciate it.
okay.
Thank
thanks-
you.
Thank you. We do
Thank you.
appreciate it.
If you did it back at the beginning, you could have bought it all Pelican Reserve at 5 cents a Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on to our selection of our new member. And Randy, if you would come up to the podium and introduce yourself and just give us a little bit about your background and your interest in serving on the committee.
Thank you. I haven't had a chance to meet some of the members here, but my name is Randy Bottleson. And I'm here today as an applicant to join your Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee. And so I appreciate your consideration. I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version and then open it up so you can ask me any questions you'd like. But my wife and I have been residents of Pelican Preserve for about 3.5 years. I have, during that time, I spent a couple of years as a member of the golf club. I also am a fishing buddy of Joe's with the Pelican Preserve Castaways Fishing Club. And then I also participate in a group called the Beacon Group. And this is probably unfamiliar to most of you, but it is a group that's been formed to help create a social and a support group for visually impaired. My wife is legally blind, and so.
So you and Joe have that in common.
We have that in common.
Yeah.
So my wife was kind of one of the original founders of that. So So how, in some ways, how that might align with our community is I know that a bench was put in for the front entrance to to Pelican Preserve. But also, there's been a lot of work done that can be disseminated, information can be disseminated regarding Passport, which is a Lee transport service, not all for people with any type of disability, and probably more used by mobility disability, wheelchair type of people. But these are some of the things that that particular group is engaged in that can be a broader concept and used to the community itself. When they asked about what relevant experience, my wife and I have been involved in a small association for many years in southern Minnesota that was actually a development by my father, who was a bricklayer and mason contractor. And as a teenager, I got to mix a lot of cement and rock and so forth. While the association there basically in Minnesota covers snow removal and grass cutting, it gave some indication of what it's like to have that and try to work with all the different agendas and personalities that you have with that. For a career, I spent my time as a sales representative and for medical devices, primarily those that are used for open heart surgery. So medical devices and capital equipment. At different times, I had direct sales territory, where I had sales management responsibility. I also had product management responsibility. And so how that might apply to what you're all trying to do with this is that in all those positions, it's necessary to create sales forecasts. And of course, those sales forecasts are to meet and or exceed those forecasts. And it's all built around budgets as well. So it was very necessary for us to establish travel budgets, entertainment budgets, meals and expenses. In the product management role, there was a little bit more budgets for marketing activities, manufacturing activities, things of that nature. So, and I would welcome you to look at my LinkedIn profile. It hasn't been updated very much in the last few years, but it does give something of a feedback. My wife and I are full-time residents. We only own in Eden Prairie, or I should say in Pelican Preserve. We do travel some toward the end of the summer to go back and visit friends and family in Minnesota, and hopefully this year, just some fun travel as well. So, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Randy. Anybody have any questions of Randy?
Well, I've dealt with Randy as a good tax client. Find him to be very professional. He sometimes questions me, which is good, right?
I wouldn't dare do it.
Pardon? And I looked at your link, and you're impressive, and you realize we meet once a month.
Yep.
Okay, and the time-wise, Phil does a lot more time than some of us, that's for sure.
Well, I've noticed that Phil's involved in a lot of other.
True.
That wears a lot of hats.
So, but you're willing to take that time?
I am, and finding that in retirement, I'm kind of looking for something, and I feel like I'm going to be a part of this Pelican Preserve community. It's only appropriate to step up and offer to participate.
We do a lot of email, so you got to check your email.
Yeah.
I have some people who check their email once every 6 months. But that doesn't work here.
As a former salesman and or marketing guy, emails and voicemails were always attended to. So I understand that.
apropos that, by the way, and we're a little bit, we do some pretty dicey things here. We're not really supposed to be communicating with each other one-on-one. We usually ask for the communication to go through Georgia Johnson, who is here. That kind of protects us, I guess. We're not supposed to be debating, and two of us should never get together to conduct any business just with less than a quorum and a published meeting.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, then I've been remiss in this. I should be getting Tony Piers in to give us a little bit of a lecture on maintaining that kind of thing, but we have to be a little bit careful about it. So
Sunset laws.
Hmm?
The sunset laws.
Right.
the sunset laws are, yeah, sunshine laws are.
I'd like to say, I've certainly enjoyed getting to know Randy through the Beacon Group, where he's been very helpful to everybody. Yeah, it is a really nice group organization. But we also are fishing buddies, and we have some tall tales, and I've been telling how great this group is for a long time, and now maybe you have a chance to see if that's true or not. But
Those are
Randy,
tall
if
tales.
Randy, we'll have to be careful when we go fishing anymore and only talk fish.
That's right, that's right.
And
yeah.
they get bigger every day.
I've got pictures of them, you can kind of expand it out on the iPhone, but.
Yeah, we learned a trick. You hold the fish way out in front of it. It looks twice as big. No, I think Randy would be a very welcome addition here. He's serious, dedicated, and I know he cares about our community.
Oh, I agree. Any other questions of Randy or comments? You know, I'm very pleased that Randy applied for this job. I'm sorry we didn't get more applicants, and that is not to say something negative about you, Randy. I just wish there was more enthusiasm in the community, but I'm really pleased that you applied. I think that's excellent. So I would entertain a motion that we recommend, well, we need to recommend you to the Gateway Services Community Development District Board. They have to approve it, and you have to get your name added, so you're covered by our insurance. So I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board that Randy be appointed as a member of the PPAC.
I'd be pleased to make a recommendation that we appoint Randy to the
Okay.
PPAC board.
Second, and
I will
Glenn seconds it. Okay. Any further discussion?
Mm.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Randy,
Wonderful.
we can't quite welcome you aboard until we get this approved.
Shoot, I was gonna have him come sit here.
Unfortunately, we probably can't get your name in front of the board until, let's see, this is their next meeting would be on Thursday, and we can't get it. Their agenda is set 10 days in advance, so it's gonna have to go on the following agenda.
Sure.
So,
Couple of weeks at least, right?
yeah. So please continue to join us if you would,
Okay.
here, so that you get into the discussion, and we invite your participation in the discussion. Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much. Golf cart.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, after the last meeting I attended, I got an email from Phil that another owner had put forward another manufacturer of golf carts that they were considering, and provided that they all fit with the other recommendations, if that would work or not. And so I did some research, and I took Phil's suggestion. I formed a little ad hoc committee. The majority of those people were golfers, but I have had conversations with some non-golfers as well. And I sat down and talked to Scott for a little while, and I didn't think I was going to have time to come up with any language. But since our meeting was postponed, I had a little time to look over the language and propose some changes. I passed out 3 pages to you. The first one that's in, oh, and Randy, if you would.
He's here.
There you go. Yes.
I had them because I read them, but they ain't here now.
There you go. Here's another copy.
Okay.
The first page that's all in black is the way that section G of Resolution 2018-04, the way that it reads now. And Phil told me that Tony had suggested that we put forward some language that makes it more malleable. And I don't know if that meant that I should stick something in like is on the second page. And that keeps all of the restrictions the way that they are, but it down at the bottom, I've added that PPAC or that the PP, I shouldn't have put PPAC. I should have put PPCA. Yes.
Well, no, it would be, it should really be the CCDD.
What, no, the way that the resolution is worded, it is specifically for Pelican Preserve, and PPCA is referred to in the resolution. So that should be PPCA.
Okay.
But what I put in there was language that says that that PPCA can amend those restrictions with submission basically to the CDD. We don't have to get their approval. We just have to notify them that that's what we're doing.
Now you're talking about the PPCA or the PPAC?
Yes. The PPCA.
Okay.
Yeah,
I keep saying we, but I mean the PPCA, Pelican Preserve.
Yeah.
I must admit, Teresa, that confuses me a little. I realize that we're mentioned in there.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, resolution 218-04 is a CDD resolution.
I understand that it is,
Yeah.
but it does specifically refer to Pelican Preserve. So anyway, and we can alter that however you think it needs to be altered. But what I was trying to do is say that whoever wants to change it, whether that be PPAC or PPCA, can do so without getting CDD approval. But we have to submit it to the CDD so they know what it is that's being done. And then the second sentence also provides for notice to the residents, because if these restrictions are going to be enforced, we can't change them and enforce them without notifying the residents. So I provided a notice provision in there as well. So if that's what Tony wanted me to do, that would be my suggestion for that. But if what he wanted me to do was say what our golf cart restrictions should be, that's your third page with all of the red additions and subtractions in there. And basically, it states that golf carts should be manufactured by E-Z-Go or equivalent manufacturer. When I talked to Scott, there was some discussion, how do we determine what equivalent means? So I suggested that we add manufacturer in there. And so that, to me, would encompass any company that manufactures golf carts. And I put that in there that if the golf carts are not used on the golf course, that they could be any color. Because to me, the point of permitting golf carts is so that we can check to make sure that they are adequately insured. It's not how they look, and they don't all have to look the same. It would be nice if we checked to make sure that their brake lights were in working order, but that's not what Castle's responsibility is right now. It's just to check that they're aesthetically living up to these restrictions and having insurance. So if that's all we're going to do, and if we want to make sure that we get more, we know that golf carts that don't fit into the white and beige category are insured, then I think that we should lift that restriction and say that anybody, any color, any seat color, and any body color can be stickered, provided that they have insurance.
Do we, Teresa, in doing it that way, and I'm just throwing this out,
Mhm.
do we run the risk of getting some really, purple golf carts or something of that sort, and do we care?
We sure do. I mean, A, we run that risk.
Yes.
B, I wouldn't care.
Uh-huh.
Nobody who's on my ad hoc committee would care.
Mhm.
And maybe, somebody who's lived here for 18 years and always had to have a white golf cart with white seats might be a little perturbed that somebody else can have a purple golf cart and with any color seats.
Mhm.
But you know what? We know that they're insured. Would they rather be hit with a white golf cart that doesn't have insurance or with a purple one that does?
Mhm.
But right now, I did a little bit of just up at the town center and stuff like that. It's about 95% of the golf carts fit
The current.
the current regular. I mean, we're talking about 5%.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a small percentage. I mean, if we're talking about body color, that percentage gets larger when we get into seat colors
Right.
because
There's more.
Well,
a
and-
lot of
and-
people
and it
have
seems to
different
me
color seats.
It will get larger because some of those colors aren't available now, right? Is that an issue?
Well, I think yes, the percentage of golf carts that are not white or beige
Yeah.
would increase if these restrictions are lifted.
Mhm.
But you could get the color though. I think the thing is, it's a little different shade.
It's like, yeah.
It's slightly different, but they're
The
still,
old colors have all changed to a new modern look.
right,
So
but there's
the
still a
is
beige
gold,
and white.
Well, beige is more gold from
Right.
what I understand. So the coloration is going to be changing. I don't think people are going to be running out, spending $7,000 to buy a new golf cart. I think maybe as attrition takes place, you might see something gradually
Mhm.
move in, which probably will make it a lot better for people that are more fixed in what their expectations are. So I don't think you'll see a big change, but gradually, I think you would. But I think a lot of people, well, they're happy with.
No, I don't think that a lot of people are gonna go out and do that either, because, I mean, who wants to have that expense just to have the color of your golf cart changed? I don't think anybody would.
And maybe
Um,
those people would be more likely that are going to get a new cart, or more likely to be golfers. Which are going to have to save,
Exactly.
which we
Mhm.
aren't changing any of
No.
the regulations.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the other, and it's kind of an amendment to my earlier comment. But I think this is probably controlled because we are saying easy-go or equivalent manufacturer. I'm thinking of villages kind of thing, where they've got all these weird looking.
But this is written for the villages. This revised thing is written, you go down to the bottom, it's customized carts are done in any color.
Mhm.
This is villages wording.
Well, but you
No,
can.
it says-
No, it's not. It's my word.
No, but what I'm
But you're
saying,
right. You're
the golf-
absolutely right.
the golf carts you see from the villages, they would be able to pass this type, every one of
Yes,
them
that's right.
would pass this type thing.
I don't know, because
I do agree with that.
I don't,
No, it is.
I think you have to buy a kit to alter that look of that standard
Mhm.
golf cart.
Mhm.
If you want to make it a Mercedes or
Oh,
a Bentley, whatever, you got to buy a kit. Maybe we should address that no
Well, you got
kits can be.
the last point, the customized.
Mhm.
You could
Well,
delete that.
And I just
Well,
gave this,
She did.
She did delete it.
Teresa.
I did
No, I
delete
meant
it.
delete the deletion.
Yes.
Put it
Oh,
back.
put it
That's
back
what I was
in.
gonna say.
Yes, that's what
I
I'm saying.
just gave you this as a talking point.
Oh, no, I see what you mean.
I
No.
mean,
So if we left the customized golf carts in there, it would prevent the really weird stuff from happening.
Yes, it would.
And I think we probably want to do that.
I agree.
I
Yeah,
do too.
I do think we want to avoid that. To your earlier comment, Teresa, it seems to me we shouldn't let Tony should not be the one to drive what we're doing here. We're the ones who should be driving.
Mhm.
So I like the idea of, making the changes that you suggested.
Well, good. good, because that's what I'd like too, except, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with leaving in the no custom golf carts.
Yeah. But let me ask Scott, you said people aren't coming to insure because of the current types of carts they
Well,
have.
I can tell you if they don't meet the aesthetic requirements right now, those are the carts that are not registered.
Do you think these will come on board now?
There's a greater chance, and there's no reason why they shouldn't register their car.
Should we address that issue if they don't register in this too?
Well,
Well, aren't there going to
That's
be
another side of it,
enforcement
yeah.
mechanisms now if they don't
Right.
register?
If the community association is involved, I think they can implement their enforcement. If it's the PPAC that's involved, I don't believe we have an enforcement arm. So you said this actually, some of this come under the community association. They would have that ability to do that.
right.
Well, I mean, what I have proposed to you is what we would like to modify or whatever has to be done with resolution 2018-04. But Phil informed me that the PPCA also adopted these rules basically because they were the CDD rules. So if we can get them changed in one spot, I don't think there's any reason why they couldn't be changed in another.
Right, and the fact that if they become rules of the PPCA, the Community Association, it seems to me that they are then, could be covered by this new covenant
Right.
thing that we're putting out. Covenant enforcement, because they are a rule of the PPCA.
Mhm.
And the new rules for covenant enforcement, in fact, we now have a covenant enforcement officer. We hired somebody to do just this kind of thing.
Mhm.
So we can come up with, and we've had problems in the past, but I think have we not, Scott, tried at least putting warnings on carts that we found at the town center that
Weren't registered?
Yes, we
weren't
put
registered.
reminders on them.
Yeah. So we've gone through.
And we also go into the condominium that have their golf carts parked outside.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about even the old one, if you go back to the original. This is not, just because you could do all the stuff and still not be able to register a golf cart, because this stuff doesn't say anything about insurance, correct?
Yes, it does.
It's in there.
It's in another part of the resolution.
It's not in this.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
just
Okay.
one part of the resolution.
Okay, okay,
That's definitely
okay.
covered, and it talks about the kind of
Okay.
safety equipment you need to have.
Mhm.
And a lot of that stuff is covered. We
Only focused on
We
color,
were, right, we were focused on aesthetic.
on the color.
Yeah.
Can we add something that states when they get their sticker with proof of insurance that their turn signals work? I mean, that's not much of an inspection, just tell them flip it once back and forth. You guys give a sticker, you put it on the golf cart.
Oh,
Just-
none of this is problems. That's human error. They all have signals. They all have lights, but our owners don't use signals or their lights.
They crossed the
I-
border from Georgia into Florida. and
That's right. That's right. That's what happens. I mean,
But can we make sure that at least they're working?
oh, we can do that. And their brake lights work. I mean, that's not a problem. Now, getting the owners to follow traffic laws,
Yeah, that's impossible.
Well,
that's impossible.
I don't believe, and I'd have to go back to the resolution. I don't believe it requires turn signals unless you're driving them at night
Oh, I think you're right.
Or headlights.
or headlights, right?
That's the way it used to be,
Yeah,
unless something,
yeah.
and I don't think anything has changed.
Should
Because
we
I know
not-
people that do not have headlights. and-
That's
Should
right.
we not address that while we're doing this? Maybe say all golf carts driven in the community other than those for the golf course are required to have headlights and turn signals. I
'Cause-
think it says it, but I don't.
Yeah,
know
I
what it says.
remember when they
have to
changed that,
use
because
it.
I had to go take my car that have the turn signals and stuff like that installed on it, because originally when we got here, that was not a requirement.
You have that in section 5 about headlights already.
Yeah.
It says they have to have working brakes, turn signals, headlights, taillights, turn indicators, brake lights,
Okay.
number 5.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
can we just,
Okay,
can
so
we just
it-
make
yeah,
sure
it
that
is-
they're
it
operating when we
is.
give them
I-
a
yeah.
sticker?
I made a misstatement. It is in there. It's
Yeah.
covered. It's covered. We used to do, when the carts were registered, they used to at least check the turn signals and the headlights, I
Right.
think. we could-
We can make the assumption, or we can go through the motion, at least make people aware of it.
Yeah. You know, I don't know how much how much that would hurt the registration process, Scott, if we had to check those things.
And then what are you gonna say? Okay, your turn signals, get them fixed. Okay, they leave.
Yeah.
You know, so I
That's
think
probably
our
why they
safety
quit
committee
checking.
just put out once in a while a blast
Okay.
about what our golf carts require.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
I know,
and then
Good idea, Glenn.
I like when Scott did the registration, we moved through that line pretty quick.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to be there, him sitting there checking lead lights and turn signals.
Okay.
Because one guy's gonna say that, hey, man, mine work, let me go. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I can go with that too.
Teresa, my suggestion would be at this point that you commune with Tony about the changes we'd like to make. In other words, your page 3, and ask him what he sees as, you know, what we would need to do in order to get that done.
Okay.
That the PPAC wants it that way. I get a consensus of the committee that we want to do that. And except we want to put back in the.
Back in number 8.
Number
Yep.
8.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thing is number 8. So the consensus is the committee would like to do this. We just need to find out what we need to do. I assume we have to pass it, and,
Okay.
and move on to that. Okay, well, thank you, Teresa.
Hopefully he'll answer my email this time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, send him this and tell him that's what we're, yeah.
I'll copy you on it,
Yeah.
so you'll know that
I
if he
find
doesn't,
Phil has greater influence,
you and Georgia.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, that'd be great. Any other discussions of this? Randy, do you have any comments you want to make about it, or?
No, it just seemed to me that the key things on golf carts are that they are safe.
Yep.
And they have operating.
Insured.
I don't get hung up with color.
Okay. All right, that covers golf carts. Let's move on to Palazzo Road transfer. Joe, do you have anything further to report to us on that?
I really have no information. Tony was having problems trying to open some attachments, and I'm not sure why, because I had no problem with them. But I resent them to him, and I haven't heard back from him. And I sent him a note again today, not expecting necessarily a response before the meeting. So it's in the works. I know Mike Lampier is anxious to get moving on it, but I've told him I don't know that there's an urgent reason to get it done yesterday.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to just fall in the
Fall
crack.
apart. I agree.
So I'm just staying on top of Tony. I don't want to put a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I was told he has an awful lot on his plate right now, and but he's been polite. So we'll see
Okay,
where we go.
all right. That takes care of that. Let's move on to, we have 2 sets of minutes. I hope you all had a chance to read them. I suggested some, well, I don't know, they were substantial, but edits to at least the April 8th edition. Because it seemed to be, you know, it wasn't very well organized.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, you hadn't had a chance, I think, to really look at it. So I would If there are no changes to the April 8th minutes, I would entertain a motion to approve them as currently written.
I'll move.
Okay,
I'll
Teresa
second.
makes a move, Joe seconds it. Any further discussion?
Can I ask, this is being recorded.
Yes.
Is that how you transcribe it from the recording?
No, the CDD has a company that transcribes it,
Okay.
and then they send me the transcription, and I go through it and edit out, discussions that, because I mean, it's pretty verbatim. It's Mr. Sikorsky said this and Ms. Phillips said that. And so I try to condense it so that we don't have 10-page minutes.
Very good. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Does
I
does
think-
that cost much to do that?
I have no idea.
It's part of this overhead that we're gonna be.
Well, what I mean is, in my job now that I have, there is a software package that's free, that does that.
Mm.
So that you just put record, and it records it and translates it to text. And it's a free package.
You know, Doug, that's an interesting one. This is a service that the CDD buys.
Mhm.
And just fixing us ain't gonna change anything of the cost.
Yeah, I think probably not, although it might be something that could be suggested.
I'll bring it up to Chris,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay?
I think that's an appropriate thing to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, a very good idea.
Yeah.
Because, if we could cut that out, that's a little expense that the CDD doesn't have to have.
I think that the CDD not only does it for themselves, but they do it for all of the other associations
Right, there are other
that meet
associations.
here too.
That's right, yeah.
There may be some legal reasons they have it done outside also.
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
don't know what that might be, but
Could be, yep, okay. Good suggestion. Any further discussion on the April 8th minutes? If not, all in favor of those minutes as they are?
Aye.
That's unanimous. May 14th minutes. Any comments on those? If not, I entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
accept the May 14th minutes.
Second.
Glenn makes motion, Doug seconds it. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor accepting the May 14th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ready to move on.
Can I say one more thing about the minutes to answer Glenn's question? It comes to me in this format also. So a lot of times I can't, change the bullet points or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that because it came formatted that way. And if I try to change it, it just really looks awful. So
Yeah.
That's
I'm
fine.
not real pleased with the way it's formatted, but I just take it the way I get it. So.
Trying to edit somebody else's edits is sometimes a little difficult to do. Okay, preliminary budget review. I guess Glenn and Scott, you can kind of lead us through this, although I thought I would give a little tutorial, if you will, on the total budget. But first, you guys have things to talk about in the heart of the budget, which is the CDD expenses. And
Well, I defer to my main man, Scott, because he puts these numbers together. He's the main source of who we're dealing with and what their costs are, so I'll defer that to Scott.
Okay, Scott Charnock, property manager, Pelican Preserve. For the 2022 budget, the recent budget that you received were the actuals through April 30th and including year-end projections. So that's really the only numbers that have changed from our last preliminary review. The notes have been updated, and if you take a look at the 2022 budget, that 1,475,932 will appear on the GSCDD portion of the budget. So that was verified, although there are some discrepancies that I'll bring up once we go through the GSCDD budget. Just some questions that I have for the district. But you all had a chance to look at this. So if there are questions pertaining to an expense line, we can actually go about it in that direction.
Sure.
If that's acceptable.
Does anybody have any questions about any of the expense lines on the budget?
Take a change.
Okay, well, I think, I don't know that any of the rest of us have the intelligence to ask a good question.
Well,
I mean, we don't know enough.
and I can tell you that the district reviewed this, Infomark and Stephen Bloom. So they had no recommendations based on their analysis of this budget.
Okay.
I always look at what were we a year ago?
Yes.
So 1.335 to 1.475
Right,
doesn't surprise me.
no. What I'd like to do though, and unfortunately, that's not that's not really the final number.
No.
No, I mean, it's part of the final number, but it is not the final. It's really not the thing that we have to keep our eye on how much individual assessments increase. I think that's really the driving force from our perspective. In other words, we want to be careful about driving up individual assessments. And so I think that's really the number that we need to keep our eye on, because everything else we do affects that number.
True.
And that's the number that our constituents, if you will, are looking at. What is that number?
Yes.
So, and that number is further driven, if you got the pages that we gave you copies of, I would bring your attention to page 13, which really summarizes the budget. In the budgets really have, one would have to say 5 parts, if you will, or maybe you could say 8 parts, but they've got, maybe I should start on page 11. They include administrative services, operational administrative services, and operating expenses, all of which are allocated to us by the district. So they are included. And then if you go to page 13, you will see, in addition to those, we've got the waterway management services budget, which we've all agreed to that $819,000, Doug. We've got the HOA agreement, which we were just discussing, which is $1,476,000. We've got this miscellaneous collection fees, which always seem to be in there. I'm not even sure I know exactly what they are. And then we've got the capital reserve. And all of those go together to make up the total of how our assessment is calculated. Now you get to my bit of ignorance, and the first page I gave you, which is page number 3, shows you the total assessment. Now, unfortunately, the total assessment isn't quite the same number as the total on page 13. And I have to get an explanation, or we need to get an explanation from Stephen why it isn't. It's off by about $37,000. But as I mentioned, the real bottom line is the thing in that little block on page 3, where you can see that at least currently, assessments will go up 5.4% for multifamily homes and 6.3% for single-family homes. With the current calculations. Now, I've also got some other numbers from Stephen Bloom that were slightly different, so I'm a little confused as to how that's done. But my point is, our focus has to be controlling that assessment number. Because that's, when we make changes in the expenses, that's what happens.
So the assessment is driven by our budget. It's not what the CDD will get anyway, and this is how much we have to spend.
No, it's driven by our budget. And part of which comes from the CDD, but most of it is directly ours. It's the big pieces of the HOA and ponds.
Ponds.
And if it increases, then increases the assessment.
That's right. Absolutely.
So the taxes or the assessment, or you say taxes.
Right.
But it's based upon that.
But right, exactly. And the bottom line number on page 13, which is the 2,909,630, is, I think, is our number.
Yeah.
Now, that only increases about 1.7% from the budgeted fiscal year 2021 budget. So I'm not sure that I understand quite how we get assessment changes that go to 5.4%. Something we need to understand. But my biggest point is that there are several components of that budget. And we do not have direct control of all of them.
Well, yeah, we control 1.475,
Right.
the 819,
The lion's share we control.
right? Yes.
No question about it.
And then we have to take 14%
Right.
of the CDD.
Right. Exactly.
So I look at, for say, single family, 6.3%. How hard is that to swallow for our residents,
Exactly.
right? I think it's almost in line with a property tax percentage increase, which we'll probably see in that area, 4 to 5%. So it's not like we're going way above that. So unless we cut some of those expenses in that 1.4 million, because correct me if I'm wrong, how do we go to the CDD, like their salaries number? If you look at that,
Yeah.
It's gone up $10,000.
Yeah.
We have no say in that.
I agree. The only things that we can adjust are ponds.
Yes,
And HOA.
I agree.
We got no control.
If I may, we also have another number in there that we need to check on, and that would be capital reserves,
335?
365.
365.
But it's showing budget for 2021 at 200,850.
Yes.
So that was an
And-
increase of
I agree. And I'm,
165,000.
Why did we go to 365?
because now let me, I think I sent you all copies of something on reserves.
Yeah.
It was,
The detail page.
right. If I can pull it up
This,
here.
I printed it out too from
this is the one.
Yeah, it was the one particular
The one
page.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was the yearly reserve, it was the fourth page of a presentation. And it had the yearly reserve contribution. It's my belief, I thought that in the prior year, what we did was, we started at 365, but we wanted to keep the assessment lower. Because
That's exactly what we did.
It was going up too fast. So we effectively adjusted the contribution.
last year
Last year.
to the 200 mark.
Right, exactly. But the contribution we should be making to the reserve is approximately 365. On this particular sheet, it comes out 368.08. But I think we want to keep our reserves up to date. We probably will need in a year or two to do another capital reserve study to make sure we're putting enough aside.
Well, that just brought to mind a question about these roads.
Yes.
If we decided to do one of these roads projects, would that money be able to come out of capital reserves automatic that way? Or does it come into like our operating account and then go out?
No.
How does that work?
I think it comes directly out of reserves.
Okay.
And then as of April 30th, for Gateway's financials for Pelican Preserve, we had 3.225 million in capital, 100,000 emergency, 47,580 for ponds, and unassigned 2.130 million for a total of 5.503. So we've got good reserve.
Yes.
But I can see your point where you want to bump that 200 to 365 to get back to where we should have or should be.
And I think, you know, if we're not putting money in the reserves, we're kidding ourselves.
I
I mean,
agree.
we
Yeah.
need to be providing for reserves.
So there isn't a special assessment that has to be done.
Exactly,
because of that.
because we, you know,
We did a bad job of
right,
doing
exactly.
reserves.
And by the way, an object point, if anybody's sat in on the last CDD meeting, one of the things that the CDD on the Gateway side, they haven't been providing reserves for years. And they have, you know, so it's been 30 years or more that their plant has been deteriorating, and now they are looking at huge expenditures. In fact, they're talking about financing them.
And if I may, the commercial plats, they're going up an average of 20%.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And they look like they're gonna have to finance $3 to $5 million worth of expenditures.
They had a big problem with the ponds too.
Oh, yeah, huge. They,
And they did special assessments.
That's right.
To fund it.
right.
Yeah.
And, you know, their per individual assessment has been about half of ours.
Right.
And it shows. We provided for our ponds, we provided for everything. I think we provided for the roads, we just have to get the work done. But we've been more careful stewards of that, and I think we need to continue doing that, at least in my mind.
I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil, a question, and the only reason I bring it up is because of the, you know, the 81, which is the ponds bottom line.
Right.
The variance of 81,000 compared less than prior year. But in reality, these 2020, 2021 were really, the budget was 774. It was the carryover from the other years that caused to be the 1.13 and the 899. What I'm saying is that looks as that 81,000 is actually a flat budget with the only difference of the 45,000 for the lighting thing coming over.
Right.
We didn't, what I'm saying is this number down here of the variance would be 320 some thousand dollars versus 243 if you, in reality, and that's all I'm saying, if that makes sense.
When you say versus 243,
The total expenditures where you have the variance is 243,066, the increase of 1.7%.
yes.
That is lower because of the 81,000 there is what I'm saying. And the 81,000 is really just because of carryover as opposed to real just budget. You see what I'm saying, Phil?
Yeah.
I don't know if that matters, but
Well, now, let me ask Phil. You're being on the other, the PPAC. Your budget there.
PCA.
We're looking at similar type increases, you think?
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so,
Particularly if we go forward with this work on the town center,
yeah, the
you know,
improvements.
that's gonna hike things up.
Sure.
Right.
And we're gonna be spending a little bit more on administration because we're hiring a COO. So that's gonna drive things up. So that will go up as well.
Yeah. Do we have to concern ourselves then on our side to give our residents a better break? Not maybe a
Yeah.
bad word, than what we're gonna do on that with the town center. Because we know that's gonna happen there, so.
If I may bring to your attention, on page 13, there's a couple things that we need to be aware of. The 2021 budget number that they have listed at 1.5 does not include the reserve credit that was in last year's budget.
Yeah, the 100,000.
Correct. This year's budget number of 1.475 does include that number. In year-end projections, the capital reserve dollars have not been placed into the year-end projections yet. So we got a few numbers here that have to be adjusted for this to read correctly, but we're already giving our residents a break by using the capital credit of $100,000
I agree,
that we did this year, and we're doing it again next year.
but that
So-
means we're pulling 100,000 to cover the cost
The operating costs.
Yes.
Yes,
out of that 5.5 million.
which you can do, and it's not going to hurt our immediate future plans, but it's something we need to keep in mind that as we kick the can down the road, this number is going to have to come into balance by another $100,000 to our residents. to-
Someday,
Run that by me again, what, the 100,000.
The 100,000 that they put in last year to the budget was a reserve credit, meaning they were pulling money out of reserves.
Right.
And
This is how we adjusted,
last year,
last year.
and we've already done it for this year and this year's budget. So ultimately, as we go down the road,
Yeah.
that number is going to have to be readjusted downward if we're ever going to bring in line our actual tax dollars to the actual expenses.
does he put that 100,000?
Yes, right.
Yes. So we just need to keep that in mind, that every year we're funding the O&M operating account or operating budget with $100,000
Out of
of
the reserve,
reserves. Yes.
which we probably should not be doing. So
Because that reduces what you were worried about.
well,
being
yes,
first.
I mean, what that means is then our contribution, our overall contribution to the reserves is not 365.
Yeah, it's 100,000 short.
It's gonna be 265.
Well, yeah, we have to too. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I asked about the PPAC because we're gonna have a property tax increase, we're gonna have a town center increase, and now we're gonna have this increase. So we got, can they absorb it all?
But they could have an increase
When you said
in the
the,
assessment without us even being flat.
Yes.
Because Gateway adds more expenses to that number that the assessment is. It's not just our numbers.
Oh, no, yeah,
Right.
but you got basically three
Right.
requests for
Increase.
money coming
Right.
to tax-based pay.
I still think if you look at the big picture between the PPCA quarterly assessments with all of the additions and what we've done here, it is still going to be less than if you live outside of Pelican and Gateway.
That's a good point, but I don't know if people appreciate
No,
that.
they don't
Well,
care.
no, they don't, but it's a reality
Yeah.
that the actual assets are aging. You have to make adjustments to make sure you fund reserves correctly to avoid a special assessment down the road. And it's costing more.
And we're capped out now on population.
We are.
Well, except it's always been done on a full population basis anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it
it,
is.
but it costs us more as the population fills in. I guess the question is, in looking at one of the questions is, in looking at the expense budget for the HOA piece, we probably need to go over that and be ready to explain to people where the big changes are. In other words, if we're going up 6%, there gotta be some significant changes in all of these budgets. The ponds budget, I guess, is going up 45,000, but that
Is a transfer,
is really a transfer.
right, it's a transfer from the own, right.
Right,
Up to the
exactly.
next-
So that's not really an increase in,
Right.
in total expenses. But I think probably, if we accept this and don't adjust it downward, which is the only way we can adjust it at this point, we need to be ready to explain what it is that drove the expenses up.
I look at it as landscaping and security.
Is that it?
Yeah,
And of course, the generator and the storm shutters on the gatehouse, that was 13,500.
Mhm.
But yes, you have the landscape projects you can defer. But if we continue deferring them, we're gonna end up with
this
On a different.
no plant material in areas.
It's this one.
well, you mentioned like Prado redoing those mediums. We talked about last meeting, and I took a car ride down there. I don't think it looks that bad right now. But we were estimating another.
And how much did we put in for that?
150.
Did we?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be that much, but
But that's not under operating anyway. That's not gonna save us anything. That comes out of capital, remember?
That's good.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
and what we're trying to do is just get up to the standards of the other communities, and it's not. And the trees that are there, some of them might look okay, but they physically aren't okay, and there's
Well, you know
disease
better.
issues.
And it,
Well,
well, we're kind of getting off topic here, but if you just look at that median area as opposed to the ditches and roadways that I was looking at coming down Griffin Drive, I mean, they're beautiful. What we have at Pelican is not beautiful.
no, and some of those are really diseased trees and
They had a
shrubs.
master plan.
Do you see anything here, Phil, that you,
well, I think, Glenn, what we really need to do is we need to go over and analyze it and pick up the big increases. So we can say,
I can tell you what they're for.
okay,
And it just has to do with projects. We
Yep.
just eliminate the projects. And if you're looking for $50,000, I can make those cuts, but we have to be realistic what it's going to do as we go into this time next year.
I'm not suggesting we should make cuts.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting we should be able to explain
Why?
why it happened.
Okay,
We didn't,
Yeah.
we have in some years, we didn't last year, and I must admit, because again, I was remiss in pushing it. We have sent out a letter to the people in Pelican Preserve saying that your non-ad valorem taxes are going to go up by a certain percentage, and the major drivers of this increase are this, and this, and explain why we're doing it.
I can get that to you.
Yeah, so that
That's,
so that they have an idea of why are we increasing expenses? Now, we don't have to do it right now because the budget isn't really accepted.
no, but I can
Yeah.
get that to all of you so you can take a snapshot
Okay,
at it.
Yeah,
I
All
mean,
right.
I
Well,
think, I think we certainly,
Yep.
if we're gonna go up this much, we certainly need to explain.
it's a good point. I think though, my opinion is from what, you got a small segment that really concerns themselves about it. Percentage wise,
Yes, I agree,
you know,
but
it doesn't hurt to explain.
it doesn't.
no, it doesn't hurt
No.
to, so I agree. Yeah.
And the,
And you'll never keep all those people happy.
Now,
No,
communication stops the rumors and it stops the people that are kind of on the
Right.
fence from moving forward
exactly,
and making big objections.
Yep.
So
Okay, well,
communication's important.
okay.
and the PDCA board will be communicating why its budget's going up. And I think it's incumbent upon us to do the same thing.
Although we're, not that it, we're almost hidden from a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. I agree. Some people just pay those things and,
And they don't really know.
well, I agree.
I do agree, if the communication didn't go out, everybody would be bad mouthing CDD. Nobody
Right.
would be bad
Well,
mouthing.
Yeah, CDD.
That's it, right.
Um,
And they're gonna do that.
But even though it is a small segment of the population that takes an interest in this, I still think that they deserve some kind of an explanation.
Okay,
That would be my take.
well, Scott, we'll look at it and
Yeah.
you can put some-
I'll shoot it over to you, Glenn, and you can peruse it and
well, send it to all of us and
Yeah.
we'll look at it. And if we want to see how we can explain it in that letter.
yes.
Now,
Okay,
I don't know when we have to have the final budget in. When that's due to.
I
the
thought it
CBD.
was like the third week of July.
Yeah,
Is that
I
it?
think it's usually some week,
Yes.
sometime in July.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yes.
Laura and Chris came to me for my budget.
Right.
And they plugged the number in somewhere, which is probably different than where you plugged this number in, correct? Because this came, I mean,
No,
it's the same thing.
No.
It's the same thing?
Glenn and Scott transmitted your number. to the
Okay, but
CBD.
and Chris came directly to me too.
Yeah, okay. Should be the same number.
It was the
It is
same
the same.
819. It
Yeah.
was the same number.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, we should get rid of Doug's stuff. We could cut 800,000.
Right. And I'll send all the complaints to you.
Why don't
I tell them when it rains, it goes.
Voting permits.
we
No
just
maintenance on
cover
the
the
pond,
ponds with a
period.
sheet of plexiglass?
Yeah. Well, I tell them when it rains, it all goes away.
Okay,
I have a question, and you probably addressed this before, but if you did, I wasn't paying attention or I forgot. This new thing that Lenara's putting across tree line from Pelican, will we be discussing that too, or will they
No,
have their own?
They're completely separate.
Okay,
There was a move afoot about 5 years ago to allow those people to build something there. It wasn't exactly what they're building now, but to build something there and allow those people to use our facilities,
mhm,
to become members.
mhm.
And we got that cleared up.
Okay,
We had to go to the city to do that,
okay,
but we got that cleared away.
okay, good.
So, yeah, no, it really has nothing to do with us.
Good.
I guess there are issues, Doug, there may be about flows of water and things between that community and us.
Yes.
But as far as monetary
The,
Okay.
things,
the monetary, they do pay a monetary assessment to the association and in tax dollars. And that's associated with commercial land. And to the PPCA, which is the association, it's based on acreage.
Okay,
So when you look at our budget and you see shared expenses,
Mhm.
that's a percentage that is shared with the commercial properties.
okay. And how far out does our part of the commercial properties go? And what I'm asking, the lot that's been cleared to the east of the car wash?
That's privately owned.
Okay,
Yes. If you want to stop by my office, I have a large map on the wall and I can show you, but it's basically outlined everything on the east side of tree line. The west side of tree line is not complete as far as what our land is, but our land actually goes south of the fire station in the preserve area. That's a very large, I believe it's 19 acres of preserve. Is that correct?
well then,
Is that correct? Isn't that 19 acres, that strip? It's not C5, it's C6, that wraps around.
I don't know the exact
Yeah,
number,
I
but
think
it's
it's
in
like-
it's in our contract that
Yes.
we're releasing right now for maintenance.
I think it's 19 acres.
Do you know what's going in that cleared land east of the car wash?
No, that's privately held, and right now they've basically cleared it out and they're tilling the soil. I can't tell if it's gonna be planted for agricultural or if they actually are gonna build something.
I saw someone, as I drove over, I saw somebody out, looked like they were throwing seed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, that'd be great. Little corn, beans.
Yeah. have our own
Yo,
farmer's
just-
market out
Just
there.
As long as
cut
it's
a-
not
cut a
pigs.
fence, cut a hole in the fence line and
Yeah.
Could be a cow pasture.
Well, they had cows there before they cleared it.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we complete though that our high water mark, I like that term.
Yeah.
Is 1.475 going in?
Yes,
You're, we're gonna keep it at, the consensus I get of this committee
Yeah.
is that we want to keep actually the 2 well,
Well, with everything all
yeah,
in,
right,
yes.
with everything all in, that we're not going to adjust it down.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the consensus. And we don't need to do it today, but we probably need to have a vote on what we transmit to the CDD.
okay. I think we can do it in July. at that meeting.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good.
Any further discussion on the budget?
It's always a fun time.
So Randy, you're getting a good look at what all the stuff we're
You
involved
can't
in.
withdraw.
Too late
You're
now.
not. It's too late.
I think he should be the go-to guy to explain our increase.
There you go.
See Randy.
Call Randy.
the new messenger?
Yeah.
I like it.
Call Randy.
I'll ask
Okay.
him.
Okay, there's not going to be a CDD report today because Chris is not here. I would just mention as an aside that the work on all the things that need to be done to get the construction road changed over to an emergency exit road are going along, but it's but there are all sorts of parties involved. It involves FPL, it involves Lee County, it involves the city. We finally got an agreement from Lennar for transfer of property that we needed to get done so that we can now pursue the change in the DRI with the city. So we're moving forward. slowly but
How
surely.
long is Chris gonna be here?
Hmm?
How long is Chris gonna, I mean, is Chris gone?
No, no,
Or
no,
is-
no,
they
they
changed.
reversed it. They reversed that.
Gave
Oh,
him a 3-year contract.
Contract.
where have I been?
I don't know, Teresa.
I don't think it was
I
communicated.
must not have read the
Three-
minutes.
Three-year contract. No, he's,
Yeah, I wasn't in the minutes. I don't
Okay.
think.
yeah,
Oh, great,
3-year contract,
good deal.
which is good.
Mhm.
Okay. Associated Manager Report and Securitas. Scott, you're on.
Okay. First of all, just so you know, I will be attending next month's meeting via GoToMeeting.
Oh, okay.
I will not be in physical attendance, but I'll be on vacation, so
No,
I am going to be on a video feed.
So we allow you to take vacation, huh? Look that over.
Actually, it's my first one in 15 years.
We'll have a heck of a great time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my best. All right, Securitas report. Last month, we had 67,451 vehicles come through the main gates. That is an increase of 12,646 vehicles, or an increase of 23% over past prior year. So we have started to see the increase come back. It is a decrease of 20% from April. So although we're seeing a seasonal drop that is common this time of year, it is still holding strong at, 67,000 vehicles is quite a few vehicles coming through that main gate. So if you want to know why we have gate repairs, if I was one of those gate arms, I'd be wearing out. And they are wearing out, so it's constant maintenance. I know there's been a problem with the cone that was out there blocking traffic from passing. We do have that occurring. But what we also have occurring now that we hadn't experienced in the past is people come into the gate and they don't wait for the trap gate to open. They drive around it. What we found out is that causes a problem with the gate system. And it doesn't correct itself until 4 vehicles pass through it.
How do they do that? It's so tight there.
They do it. In fact, they were out there
They saved 2
working on the
seconds.
gate.
Exactly.
I've had two cars go through it at the same time.
Yeah.
One passing, one using the trap gate. With this many vehicles, you're gonna have individuals that are in a rush and just are unwilling to wait. So it's a reality.
My wife and I, when we go through there, we say, well, we just lost 3 seconds
The same thing I just said.
of our retirement.
Just don't do it more than
What
once
are
a
you
day.
gonna do with that extra 3 seconds?
Well, I find that to be consecrated ground, because when I get into it, sometimes that gate hasn't gone down, it's stayed up. And I just pray that it'll stay up while I go
Yes,
through it.
yes.
And I gun it. I mean, I'm not, all I can think of is Scott telling us, we have video. Every time it's been broken, it was somebody else's fault. And I thought, it's not gonna be my darn fault.
Okay.
Well, while we're talking, I was going out and a guy clipped the outgoing gate.
Yes,
And the guard was out there taking information. Does he get a bill for that?
he does if the gate cannot be put back on. We have breakaway bolts.
Oh,
So if the gate isn't damaged and the mechanism still works, we do not charge the owner.
but she gets the
Now,
information.
Oh yeah, we take the information just in case.
Okay.
And if the gate needs repair because they struck the gate and the gate arm is damaged, or if the mechanism's damaged, then they do receive a bill from the district.
Good.
And
And
of course,
Randy, it's not a tax write-off.
It is the gate's fault though, remember? It's the gate's fault.
Okay.
Next on the report is the boardwalk. The boardwalk is coming along, not without delays. As you do demolition, you find surprises. I got another surprise today. It's gonna cost an additional 800,000. It's gonna cost an additional $868. We have to replace one of the pilings because it's actually rotted in the center. So there's no way until you pull off the decking and the stringers to
That you
even
know that.
find that. So those are the things that we're going to find during this construction with an 18-year-old boardwalk. So as far as the schedule, we have only received 15% of the entire order of the deck material. We're gonna know probably late July where we're at as far as the timeline. The timeline is still November, but that may get pushed into December because of the supply chain. They've locked in the price of the lumber and the decking material. The challenge is if we need additional lumber because of things that we find along the way, then the wait time for additional lumber right now is 6 months. And that's marine grade lumber. So It's the reality of what we're all dealing with, and if you're doing any building or remodeling, you've run into this. So I will keep you informed. Chris and I are working with the contractor and with the engineer to try to hold us to the schedule.
Scott, I can't recall, but how much contingency did we have
10,000,
in the
and
whole,
we used it.
in the whole project?
Yes.
We've used
They
it.
don't watch home,
Yes.
those home shows where it should be 10% of a million.
Yeah,
And that's what it was, 10% of
You know, a sheet of
No.
plywood is
No, that'd be
90.
100.
That's
No.
1%.
I'm sorry, we did 1%. That's right.
1%.
I, you know,
Hey,
It is what it is.
it is. what
well,
it is.
I mean, if it does go over, which it could possibly go over, then we'll come back and address it at that time with not only P-PAC, but the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, I'd
Are
be
the
shocked.
materials all paid for?
Yes.
Okay.
But again, any additional will be 28 to 35% more in a 6-month waiting period.
A sheet of plywood is $90 for a 4x8 sheet. I went out and bought copper wire and I bought 15 feet for $30. I mean, it's incredible.
They're
And
stealing it.
you can't find everything you need.
Mhm.
They're stealing
Supplies-
it off of work sites.
Sure.
One other item, and I'm bringing this to the attention, so I've done my duty. I already know the answer, but I'm gonna report on it anyway. We received a request from a Debbie Strobel, who lives in Prado, and she would like us to add a public restroom on either, on Cypress Grove Boulevard. And the reason is we have an active 55 and over community. Aging bladders, especially men, could benefit by having this bathroom near the mail kiosk in Prado or somewhere in Matarita and Carina. How can we make this happen? And I will let Mrs. Strobel know, unless you have an objection, that if she's willing to fund the project, we're willing to give her the land.
thank you.
If you build a, public restroom, it has to fall in line with all the ADA requirements, and you're looking at a restroom of like $800,000. And that's with engineering, so.
But if you build it, they will go.
Oh.
And thank you. And also that would require maintenance.
Yeah.
So I don't see how that's possible. I understand there is a less expensive way of addressing this problem. And it's called depends. But
Porta john.
My comment is no comment. I'm not touching it.
Scott, the upgrade for the gatehouse, which we have put in next year's budget, at the front gate
yes,
for the hurricane,
yes.
are we gonna just postpone that work until next year?
We can go ahead. I
Can you
spoke
take
to.
it out of another piece of the budget?
I could,
Yeah.
but we can also, I don't even know when we can get the generator.
Hmm.
I can tell you that we're probably 12 weeks out for the hurricane shutter material, and, that's under $3,000. I'd recommend go ahead and do that,
Yeah.
because I believe during Irma, they put up plywood, and that's not the way to go with that building.
Mhm.
So the material would be a accordion and a pull down for the doors. One being that you can actually enter the building from the exterior. The other one would be you can only activate it from the interior. And then the front panels would be the clear panels. So you could leave those up after a hurricane and still see the traffic coming in. So, I would recommend going that route. you know, it is a sizable expense for the generator. And
What
Most-
are you looking at? A portable generator or hooked up to natural gas?
hooked up to natural gas, full generator.
And it's not manned during the hurricane.
It is not, but if we don't have power, then you don't have power to the computers in the gatehouse or the gate mechanisms. The gates would have to remain open.
And it will, you know, the intent, of course, is to man it right before and right after the
Right.
hurricane.
Once the winds get to a certain level, they leave.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
most places are that way
Yeah.
with that.
But manning it doesn't mean we'd have to have the gates operating, does it?
No, I agree.
Put them up and leave them,
And
and take them off. So
Well, actually, we take them
During the
off.
hurricane, yeah.
Yeah.
And have a man person, woman person standing there.
Scott, you're talking about putting a plastic cover on the front windows.
Yes.
Have they looked at just changing those windows to hurricane-proof windows? They're probably going to cost more, but that'd be permanent, and you don't have to deal with anything.
Again, I was looking at, you know, doing something for people who are trying to work it within our budget. But I'll be more than happy to fund that if I could get approval from this group.
I know that's
And
expensive.
and based on what we just discussed,
Yeah,
Well, now might not be the time to even
No.
look at
No.
that. for sure.
okay, okay.
anyway, the request, I will answer that resident unless you have another comment that or suggestion that I made. It went to the Prado board first and they said, no, we don't have the land for that, but they do. They just didn't want to address it because,
We'll let one oak tree grow really big.
okay,
Okay.
I will let them know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there
Scott.
any questions you have for me?
Any questions for Scott? If not,
I have one thing for this group and I have to get you those breakdowns of the budget
Yes,
and where the increases have occurred and why we need the extra funding.
yeah,
yes.
Okay. I will get that done.
okay.
All right.
Thank you, Scott. Ponds Work Group, Doug, you sent us a pretty complete
Yeah, I'll just,
written.
right.
Do you have more comments?
No, except the fact that Friday, last week was when the conservation area contract was put in the paper to bid, request for bid, and this Friday is the bid meeting. And now Slicker's on our team. It's in there. There isn't much that's not in here. You guys can read as good as I can. If you have any questions, I will do this going forward to reduce the time it takes to do detail. Huh?
That's
I
great.
said, awesome.
Awesome.
Because then you don't have, you can just,
Right, that's great.
Thank you.
That's great.
Did you type this?
no. But that's the difference of having 28 members in your group.
Good. Hey, you're smart. You allocated.
One guy likes to do documentation.
Good. Good for you.
Great. Okay. Safety and Security Work Group was not quite as efficient. Just report to you the SSWG is going to be meeting next Monday. And the main things they're looking at, you know, the budget for this next year is $75,000. They are going to be undertaking a series of monitoring tests at various locations throughout the community to find out, get a database on existing conditions to support, you know, potential traffic calming activities, if we can possibly do anything of that sort. And find the locations where that would work. This is kind of a follow-on for what we've been doing on Veneto Drive. We've had a lot of complaints about the rumble strips and the traffic cones. And
Really?
yeah, but they have slowed the traffic down significantly.
Good.
We have pre and post considerations and they have slowed them down. So
They are really very mild rumble strips.
Baby.
And if they just simply slow
yeah,
people down, they're doing a great job, because I just decided I was going to go over with my golf cart at full speed, which is 15 miles an hour, which is the speed limit. I didn't have a rattle.
No,
I
you barely know it. You really do.
You don't. They're, to me, they're exactly okay. I was worried about the ones they put in the reserve that, God, you lost your feelings when you went over that in the golf cart. This is great.
In any event, so we're looking at what kind of, where that might work. We're also looking at, there are people who are going out over they're saving themselves, 6 seconds by driving into the left-hand lane and crossing the double line. And that's the reason the cones were there, obviously. So we're probably gonna put in rumble strips on the 2 places where they aren't. So even if they switch lanes, we can remove the rumble strips.
Good.
Some of the people in this place are unbelievable. The other thing is the SSWG is going to be looking at the traffic control enforcement contract that we have with the city of Fort Myers, because there is some feeling that it doesn't seem to be doing a hell of a lot of good, because the cops who are working it don't issue citations. They issue warnings, but no citations, and people are getting to the point where they're saying, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that because there are no citations. So we're gonna be following up to see what we can do.
I totally.
Gephardt got one of them.
Oh, Bob came in here one day and he raised up his warning and real proud of it. And
Yeah.
when I made the comment, we should ask those police to be more strict and give tickets out. Just not to make fun of Bob, but I mean, it's kind of, hey, look what I got.
Yeah.
You come in here and say, I got $150 ticket, nobody's going to do that. They should be issuing tickets, not more.
They should-
They're trying to be polite to our polite neighborhood. They should be strict with them.
Otherwise, we're wasting the money to bring the cops in.
Well, that's right. Well, yeah, that's what we're looking at. And the problem is not only they're trying to be polite, the problem is that if they issue a citation, they may have to appear in court. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to.
Oh, the cop does.
The cop doesn't want to do that because the cop may have to show up for that
Yeah.
citation. And so that makes them hesitant to do that. So we're trying to see whether we can get something done. But it may be a decision that we just don't want to spend the money.
I don't know if
There's 10 grand right there.
I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody's gotten a ticket at Fort Myers. I did.
Is that a month or is that
year.
just a
That's a
year?
Yeah.
But if you get a ticket and look at it, and I got a ticket for doing 74 miles an hour on Cypress, or on 6 Mile Cypress Road. Had just been passed by a dump truck and 2 cars. And I think I was the car that was slow and the cop caught. My wife even was mad about it, so but I read the back of that ticket. You go to court. You can't take the school. You can't reduce the points. The judge can charge you court costs and double the fine. It is not worth going to court to try to fight a ticket because they're going to listen to what the cop says. So the cop might be inconvenienced going to court at one point, but on the other hand, if you read what you could be subject to, you probably don't want to go to court.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's good you're looking into it.
Roll the dice and
yeah. In
hope
any
the
event,
cop doesn't
we're
show
looking
up.
Who's taking that from Ron?
Hmm?
In that committee?
Dean Groves. And in fact, I think we approved.
Yeah, the last meeting.
Yeah, we did.
Is he gonna show up once in a while?
Yeah, he is. It turns out he lives up north.
Oh, okay, that's
But he
fine.
will show up. But he's a very good guy. He's very attentive to what needs to be done.
Okay.
So he's a good person to do it. Good person to do it. CDD meeting schedule, I forgot to bring a calendar again. Somebody have, what are the 2 days in July? You got-
Probably July, is it the
15th and 29th, right? No,
No,
Thursday,
no.
14th,
No, it'd be-
15th?
No, they'd be Thursday and.
they're the
it's
first and
second-
third, aren't they?
Yeah, the first and third. Actually, I guess it would be the first and the 15th.
Yeah, it's July 1st, right?
Yeah. We'll need to check to see whether, but any event, can we get people, I can take the,
I'm not available in July. I can do it August.
I can take the first if people.
Which one's their workshop meeting? Chris isn't here to tell me.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to any more workshop
They
meetings.
Because
changed,
they had a couple extra meetings. They bumped us twice
yeah,
recently.
they
Yeah.
changed the workshop, so they now have them at the end of their meeting, not at the beginning, so that they can conduct the meeting.
You promise.
And that was what they determined to do
Yeah.
a number of months ago. So you could go to the meeting and cut out when the workshops.
Okay, well, I'll take the 15th then and I'll try to remember to show up.
Or
this
call
time.
in, or call in. It's
You know,
still
you
go
can
meet
go.
me.
Oh, it is?
You know what I
yeah.
do? I go
Oh, yeah.
on Zoom,
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Or go
Okay.
meet me.
Go to meetings.
Go to
Go to meetings.
go through the
Yeah.
Gateway
And,
website.
Okay.
and that way, if it, you can disconnect anytime.
Okay, I
No,
will.
and you can put it on mute and just listen.
Yeah.
Randy, one of the things we try and do is to have one of us cover the CDD board meetings, just so we know what's going on. And generally, people write, a few lines about things that happen there that impact us directly.
Yeah.
So we look for volunteers. We look for volunteers to do that.
Was it you that did?
Well, last time I went, this past one, just say, they want to have a model boat in one of the ponds here in Gateway, sailboats. That took up an hour about boats.
Sometimes they get on topics.
Oh, yeah, they can't seem to get off of them. Yeah, yeah. They're as bad or worse
All
than,
about model boats.
bad is worse than we are. Okay.
It's like golf carts. Someone
That's
gets an interest of something.
Okay, so I'll take the first, and Teresa's gonna take the 15th. I suppose we need to check on that, Teresa, to make sure that those are the days.
Okay.
Could be, they slip it a week. Any committee member requests?
I would like to meet our new COO at our next July 8th meeting.
Well,
Could he be available?
yes, I guess, well, we don't know. He is still recovering. He was sick.
What'd she say?
Oh, yeah. So his starting
They
date
delayed it?
was the delay.
Oh, that's fine then.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
People.
Oh, not COVID.
I think, well, someone said at the HOA meeting, it was COVID.
It may have been.
Oh. And the thing
Yeah,
though,
and-
we need
And
to,
he was really sick.
right, we need to, but though, Phil, there's people already got a bad opinion of him because they don't understand why he's not
Well, come
communicating.
on.
No, they don't know it.
Oh,
They don't know
they
he
don't
was
know that
sick.
it's been
He was
delayed.
sick
Ah,
and they don't know it's been delayed. So people are saying,
Good.
why wasn't he at the HOA meeting? Or why didn't he
oh,
show up?
That's a good point, Doug. I think the board has
Because
not
he's,
taken
when
that
he
into
walks
account.
in the first day,
Yeah.
people are gonna say,
Good
Well,
point.
you got a point there.
Yeah, very
you
good.
don't have to say he's got COVID,
No,
but just say that.
Well, that's probably,
Because of some other thing, his start date has been delayed.
well,
Yeah.
maybe in August or September, Phil, you'll arrange that.
yeah, although, this isn't his primary, this is a.
No, but I think for him to meet all of us
Yeah.
at once,
Sure.
He doesn't have to come for 2 hours.
no,
No.
just come up and,
No, and he's gonna wanna meet with a lot of the committees.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet
Yes,
the guy,
I
yes.
agree.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
thank you. That's my only request.
Good. Okay, next meeting
You
date,
can have it.
any other
Yeah,
other,
I will not be here in July,
okay,
and I will try to see if I can phone in. But I'm not sure where we'll be in the mountains.
stay on vacation.
All right.
Thank you.
Say
Any-
hi to Scott while you're gone.
Any other, okay, if there are no other member requests or audience comments, I take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, second.
Second, the meeting is adjourned 4:03.
Congratulations, Randy,
Yes,
and thank you.
we'll see you.
Welcome.
Welcome, yeah.
Welcome, you're gonna,
The July 8th meeting, Randy,
you'll be up here with
you
us.
should be aboard by that time.
And we'll assign you lots of work.
Yeah,
Hey, Joe,
I guess we want to get. This is.